This is The Garden Show. Hello, Kelowna and Victoria. What a beautiful time of the year this is. Ken and I just can't stop talking about plants and growing and things and past history and where we've come and where we're going. And oh, man, it's just been great. And we're going to have a great show today, and we do invite your calls. Please give us a call because we want to hear what's going on. We're going to talk about the Victoria Dahlia Society, that they're going to be having their annual tuber and plant sale coming up. There's all sorts of things. Hey, the Seedy Sunday tomorrow, all sorts of things going on, Ken.
It's going to be awesome.
But first, the tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
Well, my tip of the week is check out all the bulb, tuber, rhizome, and tuberous roots out there. A plethora of choices in the garden centers right now. You can't walk by anywhere, whether it's the big box stores or whether it's Costco or whether it's the garden centers, which we do highly recommend. Ken and I both highly recommend visiting your garden centers, your locally owned garden centers. But those things are out there. Just remember, we talked about it last week. Get those lilies bought and planted now.
Yes.
Don't let them sit around. But the other things we'll talk about the various ones.
There's tons of stuff. Yep.
My plant of the week is the winter aconite. I was going to do that last week, but then, of course, that beautiful iris came up.
Iris, and we did put that on YouTube. So if people want to look at that beautiful blue iris.
It's the beauty.
It's a nice one.
Winter aconite, the little yellow buttercup-like flower that comes up early in the spring. Earliest flower that comes up in my garden.
I love it.
That and that iris.
Yeah, fabulous. All right, I also have a tip and a plant of the week, and my tip of the week is that flavor equals nutrients. So when it comes to vegetables, the better, the stronger, the tastier the vegetables, the more nutrients are in it. And this is one of the reasons why we grow our own vegetables. Even if it's just in a pot on the deck or anywhere at home, we always seem to get much nicer vegetables when we grow them ourselves, and the flavor is outstanding. And that means the nutrients are also outstanding. So always look for tasty fruit and vegetables. All right. Now my plant of the week this week is the, I just got this written down here sideways. There we go. Yeah, the cilantro. Cilantro. This is when you do cilantro. So a lot of people love cilantro, and they go, I wish I could grow cilantro. Every time I grow it, it bolts and it stretches all over and it doesn't grow right. And that's usually because we're planting it too late. You get started now. You plant in a couple rows in some trays indoors to get them up about 2 to 3 inches tall. Then you can plant them out into the garden as soon as they're that size because they like the cold temperatures. And then when you plant them in the garden, you plant another row of seed right beside it. And then you wait 2 weeks and plant another row right beside it. And then you wait 2 weeks and plant another row beside it. And this gives you succession plantings of cilantro, and you'll be good for the spring. But once it gets hot, it goes to seed. So there you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Ken, that is always knowledgeable, and I was just going to. I thought to myself, how often in these 1900 and some odd shows that we've done, how often have we had the same plant or tip of the week?
Yeah, well,
none. We've never had it.
Well, it's sometimes.
I don't remember. I don't remember ever.
I mean, from year to year, like we would say March 1st. And then March 1st the next year, and then March 1st the next year.
Oh, yeah, but I mean
March 1st,
on the same day.
Not on the same
That's
day,
what I'm
ever.
saying. Never.
No,
That's
ever.
right.
No.
We've had the same plants over the years. And
close.
Whatnot, but
we would
not
usually,
on the same day.
Even the plants, we would have them. It would be like you'd say magnolias, and I would say Elizabeth magnolia or something. So, it is one of those things.
So many plants to choose from, and that's the beauty of this whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, there you go. And so I have been reviewing some of the old shows, and I do find that it's getting tougher and tougher to not repeat after 30 or 40 years of shows. Yeah. So what happens is sooner or later you're going to have repeats from year to year, but people are not always listening on those days.
I don't think they remember that. And who cares? It's just plants are plants. Look at aconitum. The winter aconite.
Yeah.
Eranthus hymalis is the Latin name for it.
Yeah,
Eranthus hymalis. It's one of the earliest bulbs to bloom in the spring, and the plant is in the buttercup family, Ranunculaceae.
Right.
Native to Asia Minor and Europe, has small flowers that resemble tiny buttercups. The solitary yellow cup flowers are surrounded by bright green bracts that look like a collar around the blossom.
Nice.
There are 6 petals in each flower and numerous stamens and pistils in the center. This small tuberous perennial is hardy in zones 4 to 7. It's a beauty. Now, they say 4 to 7. So, in other words, any warmer than that, it won't exist.
Yeah.
It can't live in warmer climates.
Correct.
Got to have the freeze. Got to have that. It's got to freeze in the winter.
You got to have a bit of a winter. Yeah, you bet.
Speaking of which, a very sad story coming out of Richmond in the paper yesterday. Gardeners grieve as they take stock of cold snap's toll. You know, Ken, you and I push the envelope a little bit here in the Okanagan. We plant a few things that technically aren't supposed to be able to be planted here, just for fun, because we'd like to do it. And this gentleman, up in years, he lives in Richmond, and he has a real succulent collection. He's called the King of Succulents. Johnny Ty, his name is, and he's very, very careful. It says here, if you ask the King of Succulents, Johnny Ty, how his plants are doing, do it gently. The 80-year-old Richmond gardener hasn't recovered yet from what he calls the crime scene. He found in 2 greenhouses one morning, mid-January, thousands of dead and dying plants, thanks to a sudden cold snap and snowfall.
Oh, so that was in the greenhouse. Wow.
Yeah, probably unheated down at the coast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of greenhouses down at the coast. You can pretty much, with a very small heater or no heater at all, you can bring semi-hardy things through the winter quite nicely. But boy, oh boy, like he said, he can survive -5, -8, but it got down to -13 in Richmond.
Ooh, yeah.
We got down to -22 in my backyard, and other areas in that January -32 in some areas of the Okanagan. So there's some kill, and they're talking about the grapes suffering tremendously this year, and the cherry crop is looking in jeopardy.
Yes,
There's a number of things that are going on.
Peaches and nectarines are done. The apricots will definitely suffer as well. There are some varieties that are a little hardier in the apricot group. Plums should be fine. They should be, because they are just such a tough, durable plant. And even though they do bloom fairly early, they just for whatever reason, I think they seem to be okay. But we'll know. We can say that, but we will know when the time is right. So.
Apples are doing okay. Pears are probably okay.
Yeah, pears and apples should be okay. But again, there still could be some damage on those. So it's not good, between that and lack of water. Now we're going to probably be on the very extreme water restrictions this year. So we got to watch for that.
Ken, we're going to have to take a short break. We invite your calls when we come back with the Garden Show after this short break. Cucumbers,
the Carmen's.
Carmen cucumbers are coming.
Oh, they're nice,
Expensive little devils, but...
Hey. Did you figure out actually per seed cost yet? Or
No, but I will. I'll double that for you, Ken.
You got to make some money on this deal.
Double my money on this.
It's worth it. I've seen, but if a mouse eats them, then that's not going to be good.
Bootlegging seeds.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story really quick that when I used to grow a hothouse greenhouse and tomatoes, and we were buying in the special cucumber seeds, and they were, I can't remember exactly how much they were, but they were pretty expensive. They were, I would say, $2.75 per seed sort of thing. And this was back in 1982. So they're very expensive. And so we planted them all out into these trays and put them in a heated propagating box to get them up before we moved them into the greenhouse for production. And we put them all out one night. Next morning came in, and about 90% of them had been eaten by mice. The mice got into the thing, and they pulled every seed out and cracked it and ate the insides.
Expensive mice.
That was expensive, yeah. So then they did miss a few, so we immediately had to screen everything in, and it was just a pain. But we didn't even know we had mice. We never saw hide nor hair of them. Till we put the cucumber seeds out, and then it was like, oh man, they were happy.
Happy mice. Well, there you go. That's a sad story, Ken. We've had other stories similar in the greenhouse. We had a cat, and we'd have at the end of the season, or in the middle of summer, we'd have somebody coming in saying, "I bought these red petunias, and they turned out white," or bought some pink ones, turned out red, or whatever. I said, "What the heck? It shouldn't be like that."
Yeah.
Turns out cat was walking through the seeding beds and transferring seeds from one pack to the other. So that, we didn't know that. We finally figured it out. We saw little kitty cat tracks, and that kind of made sense then. Yeah, it's all sorts of challenges when you're growing plants in bulk like we did in the greenhouse.
Yeah,
when you're growing 110,000 packs of bedding plants. You're going to run into some issues, once in a while.
Yeah, tagging and keeping the name straight is a big challenge.
Oh, yeah.
And I find it is, I don't know why, but it seems to be getting more and more challenging out there for nurseries and things to keep track of what plant is what. And I'm not sure why, but.
Well, I can tell you this. Back in the day, I remember a customer coming up to the to the counter to pay for her plants, and her little girl was there with, I think it was a girl, standing there. She was just a youngster, maybe 4 or 5. Had her fist full of plant tags. Oh. And I said, "Oh, where'd you get those?" "Oh, in the plants." And she'd taken all these.
She was going through the thing, pulling all the tags.
Yeah, so the mom thought she's going to do some good. So she said, "Well, I'll put them all back." "Oh, yeah, right." Put them all back. Yeah. Give them to me, and I will put them back, and we'll get them in the right spot. Victoria Dahlia Society has their annual tuber and plant sale coming up. Includes rare and exclusive varieties. One day only, April 13th, day before my birthday, Ken.
There you go. 2024, 9:30 a.m. until they're sold out. Oh, so they could be doing it at midnight. But who knows? Or it might only be 15 minutes.
Probably will, yeah.
Yeah.
Cash, check, debit, and credit card accepted. Come early for best selection. Now, this is a Victoria thing. Don't get excited, Kelowna, unless you want to travel to Victoria that day. Prospect Lake Community Hall, 5358 Spartan Road, and in Victoria. And Victoria Dahlia Society, Victoria Dahlia Society at gmail.com if you want to talk to them. And victoriadahliasociety.org is their website. I'm very excited about that. And, our Barry Willoughby, who was on the air a few weeks ago, sent me this, and he is excited for spring, I can tell. They're going to get their dahlias going. I've got mine under my bench in the greenhouse. They're starting to sprout now, so I'll put them into pots pretty quick.
Yeah.
And, I don't have a lot of dahlias, but the ones I do, I enjoy.
Yeah, and it's a good time to start getting them going indoors because they can sit. Last year, was it last year? No, a year before, I got mine started early, and some of them took right off, and some of them sat for almost a month before they shot. So, if you started now, it'd be interesting to see if they're shooting by 15th of April. So you get on it, get them into pots, so yours were actually shooting right in the storage, is that right?
They're just laying underneath the bench in the greenhouse, so they're warm and they're kind of moist. Cause
they're in pots?
Nope, right now they're just laying there. The tubers, just a cluster. I just dug them, threw them out of the bench.
Perfect.
So now I'll separate them and put them into some pots and get them going.
Greenhouses are fabulous environments. Plants just want to live in them.
Yeah,
it's fabulous.
I know. It's easy. Well, Ken, the day length is so cool right now. Day length today is 11 hours, 31 minutes, and 35 seconds.
Ooh, yeah.
11 hours.
Almost 12.
Almost to that mid 12 and 12, right? And, and it's, we're 3 hours and 26 minutes longer than we were in December 22nd. So 3 hours longer. And I feel it. And the plants in the greenhouse feel it. I love getting up in the morning when it's light already, and it makes you want to get going. Now we're going to lose that. It's going back into daylight savings time, so we're going to lose that beautiful morning light. But we will gain.
We'll get it back.
We'll gain at the end of the day, and part of me says, "Yeah, it's nice," but I'd rather.
When it's light at 4 a.m., you're going to start to hate it. Is that the thing with the what I find, anyways, when the sun shines in the window, I tend to wake up, and then I'm laying there and I go, "What time is it?" And it's like 4:40, 4:30 in the morning, and the sun's already coming up.
For me, it's a damn rooster.
Oh,
it's the rooster.
Don't like those roosters.
They wake up the crack of dawn.
Or even about an hour before, because they want to get a head start on their neighbors, I think.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take that break again, and we do invite your calls, 250-862-2525 to get through to us locally here in the Valley, and 1-888-780-4273 if you're listening in Victoria or anywhere online. We'll be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Well, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. It's early spring, and things are starting to pop in the garden. And I got to go out and do my annual visit to Dan Bruce, who we have on the line here. I always like to go out and see what's going on in his garden and his other endeavors as well. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Morning, Dan.
Well, it's a open burning day, so I'm going to be busy today.
Yeah.
Really busy.
Yeah, that's... and for me, why does it always land on a Saturday? Because I think last Saturday was burning too, isn't it?
Any day for me is good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
Last week I was talking about oranges.
Yes.
And there's an important thing I forgot to mention.
Oh.
If you're in Kelowna, you can go to the Mediterranean market, where amongst many other things they sell a bottle of orange syrup. It is made in Slovenia.
Ooh.
And this stuff is amazing.
Wow.
If you add it to a pasta sauce, it moves pasta sauce into a way higher gear.
Wow. That's good to know.
That's awesome.
Also use it, you can dilute it and make a really good, very quick, orange drink. But what I really want to tell you about this is this guy who lived out in the forest and lived there most of his life. And he was kind of inventive and clever, but he'd met this lady in his life, and he really, really wanted to impress her. So he started construction, and he built this sort of residence out there, and he was determined that he was going to use all sort of local products. So the wood was collected, and the structure took shape, and it was really quite an amazing thing. He decorated it with all sorts of pieces of ornamental stuff, and he made a lawn on the ground out in front of it, and he'd kind of trimmed off some bits of leaf and stuff that were overhead so that the light came in on it just the right angle. And he even went to the extent of making some paint and painting the walls of this thing. And it was, as I said, quite amazing. And he was getting some favorable comments from his lady friend. And then one day, a wild pig ran through the area and was chased by a pack of dogs. And they ran right through this thing and really messed it up. But he didn't worry too much because he just flew away because he was a bird. A bowerbird. And everything that I've said except for the wild dog thing was true.
Right.
Yes, the bowerbirds create these structures using natural products, obviously. And the different species make different sizes and shapes of these structures. Some are about 6 foot tall, like a pole, all decorated with sticks, bits of moss, beetle wing cases, shells, small bones, anything they can find. But they're very selective about color. For instance, the satin bowerbird in northern Australia really only likes blue things. And it has been known that those satin bowerbirds that live close to humans have raided households and taken the blue plastic clothes pegs off the line, dropping the linen onto the ground, going off to use the clothes pegs to decorate the bower.
This nature, wonderful. Where do bower? You mentioned northern Australia, so
bowerbirds are native to many, many parts of the island of New Guinea, and also many parts of Australia.
Okay, so they're more of a subtropical or tropical bird, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fascinating. That sounds almost like our pack rat.
Yes, but
we have the pack rat. They have the bowerbird. Yeah, there you
go. Anyway, this whole behavior is really unique in the bird world, and there's a lot of it that ornithologists, scientists just don't know yet.
There's a lot we don't know, Dan. But if we keep having you come in and spew some of your knowledge, we'll know everything by the end of the year here.
I doubt that very much.
We're going to have to keep going here. We got some calls coming in, but we always appreciate listening to your stories.
Well, that was my inhuman gardening thing.
Right on. Thanks, Dan.
They are, in fact, called, one group of them is called the gardener bowerbirds.
Okay.
Yeah, gardening's not limited to humans.
No, that's right. Okay, buddy. Thanks for the call. Take care.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And we welcome Pam to the show. Good morning, Pam. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, very well. You brought massive delight to my little heart when you talked about the day length right now. That we're actually in double digits and moving on. Oh,
isn't that nice?
So encouraging, yeah. My specific request or question or topic today is it's a bit of an ask, I guess. I've got my hands in service hat on, and we're in the middle of our preparation and planning for our 2024 Living Salads, the Portable Community Garden Project. And so far, so good. We just haven't found all the pots that we need yet. So I wondered if I could just put a shout out if there are any gardeners or anybody listening who has, some pots that they're looking at they don't need. We are a little bit picky, though. They have to kind of be specific size. Yeah. So can I just give you a bit of a dimension of description and then phone number for the office, and if people want to respond, they can?
You bet.
Yeah, so the Living Salad Planters, for those who don't know, is a container garden that holds about six plants that are companion happy, like they do well with each other. And we give the opportunity to people who don't have yard space, don't have more than a balcony, maybe don't even have mobility or medical capacity to get out into a garden, so they can't even access community gardens. So we bring the community garden to them. This year we're planning on planting 450 of these gardens, which means 450 households will have a chance to put their fingers in dirt that they might not have had opportunity to before and grow some of their own produce. The size of the pots we're looking for, I kind of call them a squatty pot in the sense that they're about 9-10 inches high, so 13-14 inches in diameter. They're a common pot, but there are all kinds of different sizes of pots, and we need them a bit wider than tall because each of the plants needs elbow room. And the plants we're planting don't have large root systems that need a lot of depth that way.
No, I think it's Ken, would that be a number 7 pot?
No, that is what would be classified as either a 3-gallon or a 4-gallon pot, typically, something like that.
I think we have thought of it as a 3-gallon pot.
Yeah, and I'll have a look, Pam, too. So I know we have a lot of pots. We just have to. That's kind of an odd size, but I'm sure we must have some. And I think we just recently, and I mean yesterday, freed up about 30 of them.
Ooh.
in one planting. So let me look at that, and I will give you a call. So what was the number that we should call?
250.
Oh, sorry.
861 5465. That's our hands and service office number. And if there's not a person that answers, like if you call on the weekend, just leave a voicemail with the number, and I'll get back to you on Monday.
Can you say it one more time?
Sure. 250-861 5465. That's direct to hands and service. You'll get a message machine until Monday. I'll be in on Monday.
I just wanted to let you know, while you were giving that number out, Ken is dabbling on his phone, poking away, and I just wrote it down. I know the number already. He could ask me that an hour from now, and he's poking at his phone. There we go. And Pam, one more thing. You mentioned dirt. We call it soil. Dirt comes from behind the ears.
Right.
Soil is what we plant into.
Dear.
Yeah.
I try not to say dirt. You're right. Dirt is what you wash off your hands. Soil is what the plants live in. I get it.
Right.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the bottom of a sample pot that I have here, and for some reason on the bottom it says number 5T-15 liters.
Oh, okay.
That's what's designated. That's what is stamped on the bottom of a pot.
So that could be a squat
5.
Gallon,
Squat 5.
Yeah, and then it says 30 by 23 centimeters. That's what this particular brand is decided to identify it as. But
sounds
you know what
smaller.
I'm saying? We don't need taller. We need wider.
Yep, you need the squat
but not
pots.
tree size.
Yep.
Not huge tree size.
We got her, Pam. I think.
Thank you so much.
And how are your little greens doing?
My greens.
Your greens, microgreens.
I have had a bit of a disappointment this year. I think I got a different kind of soil, or maybe my peas are dead because I'm getting more mold than sprout.
Okay,
and that hasn't happened before.
Extracurricular activity going on in there, eh?
Something extra, something extra that I didn't plan on.
The molds must be out there because I'm having a lot of trouble with my geraniums this year rooting. I'm getting a lot of blackleg. And that's a rhizoctonia thing, I think.
I'm finding with the recycled soil and soil, I had a bag of soil that it was sitting outside and the top was open. And so it was just sitting out there. So when it was time to use it, bring it in and start using it. And right away, that molded right away. And then the plants grew. They were growing okay. And then all of a sudden, bing, 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 little mushrooms popped up.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was pretty impressed. I was going, right on. I get my own little mushroom patch.
If anything's going to get us, it'll be the fungi.
Oh, yeah.
More than you bargained for. You didn't know how many things you were living with.
That's
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yep. Pam, thanks for the call.
I am excited to see my kale that has survived underneath all the snow that's gone now.
Oh,
kale is coming back, and my garlic is up about 4 inches.
Yeah. Yep.
And my tulips and hyacinths are looking pretty excited. And Obretia is quite a chameleon. By the end of summer, Obretia looks like I am never coming back. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somehow, right now, it's the healthiest thing in the yard. It just looks so lush and green. I go, where did you come from?
They love the cool weather. It loves the cool weather. Pam, thanks for the call. Thanks for the update on the garden. We always appreciate it. And we will talk to you soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Another break, folks. Give us a call, 250-862-2525 or 1-888-780-4273 from out of town, from the Victoria area. Give us a shout. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, it's high overcast here in Kelowna. I'm not sure what it's like in Victoria. Maybe we can have a weather report from Victoria from somebody. But the sky is, there's some spots in there where I see some blue, which I'm liking that.
Yeah.
Blue sky. We love blue sky, especially at this time of year, especially for the greenhouse. All of a sudden, things just start to jump. But we've got Winnie phoning in. Winnie from Kelowna. Good morning, Winnie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I potted tulips last fall, brought them inside January 1st, and they've bloomed. And it was quite fun watching. And so they're kind of dying down now. I'm wondering if I can get another crop this summer. Like, if I let them die down, refrigerate the bulbs, replant, can I get another...
It has to have a hot cycle first. So it has to go just like as if they were in the garden. If they bloomed in the spring, what follows is heat. So then they would die down to the ground, and the earth would warm up, get nice and toasty warm for about 3 months. And then after that, the earth starts to cool. So then you could, at that point, put them back into the refrigerator and pull them out whenever you like to enjoy them.
Okay.
Yeah. So you would get that second bloom. Part of the thing that affects the bloom is how long they grow their foliage after flowering. Because that's how they restore that bulb.
Yeah, so they're kind of sitting in their pots, all wilted and dying.
Yeah,
so
Winnie, I would say this. That the foliage is dying down now. The bulbs are depleted somewhat, and I don't think you're going to get that second bloom. Do you have a garden?
Yes.
I'd plant them out. I'd get them into the garden.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put the whole pot, like dig a hole, plunk the pot in so the bulbs themselves are about 4 to 6 inches deep, and cover them up, and they'll just be there all summer, and then they'll bloom in the garden next spring. That would be really clever if you could get them to bloom again this summer. You might want to try it and tell us we were full of it, but I don't think you'd be able to do it.
Okay, but a couple of 3 months of heat and then the refrigerator.
Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 and 3 is sort of would be 3 months of heat and 3 months of cool. And when we say heat, we just mean really above freezing. So they're already starting that cycle right now.
But as Ken said, the key is that the foliage had to stay there for quite a while to replenish those bulbs. You might want to have a look at the bulb.
I'm not stealing any foliage.
Yeah, you might want to have a look at the bulb and see what the bulb looks like. If it's fat and healthy looking, you might have a chance. But I got a feeling those bulbs would be depleted. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, dear. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we've got Donna on the line from Kelowna. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning. My questions are actually inside garden questions. I've had 4 violets for a few years. They're beautiful, they're healthy, but they don't bloom. And I've fed them, I've got the right soil, I've done, but how do I get them to bloom again?
It's African violets?
Yes.
Yeah, they need bright light. And that's really the key. And I can remember I've had African violets for years and years. And what I would do is whenever they would start slowing down flowering, I would just put them right on the windowsill. And they would get sort of a little cool air, but super bright light. And that bright, intense light was what would keep them going and keep them flowering.
I didn't think they wanted the direct light on it. I thought they wanted...
Oh, yeah.
African.
Yeah, they live in in sort of the areas where it's just I think it's like a sort of like a prairie area ish with like sort of miscellaneous grasses and rocks and things. So they're not really a forest plant. So they need bright light, and that's the thing that sets the bloom and gets them going. As long as the foliage is looking healthy. Then
so they look beautiful except for no flower.
Oh, there you go. So that's fabulous because that means you've got healthy roots and healthy stems, and you don't have to pot it into a bigger pot because they, sometimes that little bit of a smaller pot sort of stresses them out a little bit and makes them flower again. But you just have to watch the watering to be just perfect, dry between each watering, moisture. Occasional fertilization. Fertilization isn't really the key important thing. Sometimes when you're over-fertilizing, you're tending to keep the plant juvenile, so it tends to not want to mature to flower. So that's the other thing is when it's okay to fertilize once in a while, but really good light, dry between waterings, and not excessive.
I've seen some really good response, Donna, with just these little grow lamp deals where you have some grow lamps right close to the plant and the African violets underneath. They respond to that too. So you could put them in the window in the winter, but also have that grow lamp because the window in the winter in the Okanagan in particular just doesn't have enough for them.
But light. That leads me right into my second question. I just bought some of those little grow lamps, the ones that clip on, as well as one that's up on a big stand.
Right.
I went to the thing that I cannot grow, orchids. So I went to their meeting, and that's when I found out about these things. But Can you burn? That's what's my next question. Can you actually burn your light? Because they stick right on the pot. They won't burn the plant.
Well,
right?
it all depends on what kind of grow lamp you've got. If you've got an incandescent bulb, you want to be careful that doesn't get too close.
Gets too hot. Yeah.
But your fluorescent tubes generally don't get hot.
Full spectrum, all that stuff.
They might
nowadays,
be LEDs.
Yeah, nowadays with the LEDs, there's no burning involved at all.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can have them real close.
Like within a couple inches if you need to. So the quality of the light fixture or the bulb equals how far away you can be from your plants. So if it's a low-cost item, you probably need to be right up close. And if it's a higher cost, you could be farther away. And like I have really high-end grow lights, so mine are like hanging from the ceiling, illuminating the entire room. So again, that's sort of this thing with the quality of that light.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And how would you know just pure cost? Like, how would you know the quality?
Generally speaking, that's what it would be.
And a little bit of research, too, because, like, it doesn't cost that much now, but it's just, I've got thousands of plants, so.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm just trying to. My house is very nice. It's got the windows on 3 sides, but not the 4th. And so I'm trying to make sure, like you say, in the winter it gets quite dark. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I'm a real plant lover. I have plants everywhere, so nice. I move and move and move and move, trying to keep them in the sun or the light or whatever. So I thought, when I went and saw these lamps, I thought, oh, this could be maybe the solution. Mm-hmm. I have a Hoy plant that's right in the very middle of my, it's right in the middle of my main room, but my main room is very bright, but of course it doesn't flower there either. So I've got to get it over somehow to these few windows. So this is why I thought maybe this lamp would provide enough for it to stay where it is.
Yeah, and
what do you think?
For sure it could. Yeah. The thing with light is to realize this is that when plants are growing outside, and if they're in full sun, like say out in the middle of a field, they would be getting 100% sunlight. And if you bring them indoors and then put them right up close to the window, even like on a southwest window, you're sitting at about 15% of that outside light. And that's due to the angulation of the glass and everything.
Sun reflects.
And then if you back away from that window, say 10 or 15 feet, you can go to 1% of the actual outside light or even less. So the plants will often adapt, and plants that live in dense forests, like especially tropicals, they can actually live with quite low light. Like even the Hoya is not bad for low light. So it's just that you might be below low light. So even though it looks bright to our eyes.
Again, everything's shiny and green and, growing fine. It's just I'm missing those. Yeah. Missing the flowers.
Donna,
the last place I had it was right near the window.
I feel your passion, and I love it. Ken and I both love your passion.
Yeah, call in again.
Yeah, we're going to have to. What we're going to have to do is take a break here now, but we appreciate your call.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Thanks, Donna. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Yeah, it's coming up to the break in the middle of the show, and we'll have a rip-roaring second half of the garden show. Ken and I are delighted to be here every Saturday morning to talk to you about gardening. The spring is right around the corner, and lots going on. Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll talk a little more about CD Sunday coming up tomorrow. That's going to be
That's
great.
Exciting.
Yep.
That's exciting. There was something else we wanted to talk about, too, the various bulbs and tubers and corms that are out there on the market that we want to encourage people to go out and shop for. We are going to take a short break now, and we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, here we are. Let's talk a little bit about CD Sunday tomorrow, Ken, and you're involved with that.
Yeah, I've got a table there. I'll be answering plant questions and helping people with their gardening issues, that sort of thing. And then I think it's at 1 o'clock I'll be speaking on vegetable gardening, so I've got a nice presentation there. So anybody who comes in, I'm pretty sure that's part of your package just from coming in. I think it's just $2 to get in. It's a great deal.
Reasonable.
And remember, that's where you get the really great heritage seeds. And Sunshine Farms is going to be there, as they always are, doing a great job producing seeds and other things. Great information.
Again, that we're speaking of Kelowna's CD Sunday. Now, I'm not sure when Victoria.
It was
CD
on
Sunday
the 25th.
That was on the 20th. Yeah, that was back.
February.
Yeah, you bet. Now, this is Kelowna's, and it's at the Parkinson Rec Center?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Been there for quite a while. Well, there you go. Donna and I are going to pop in tomorrow to see you and to see what's going on there.
Yeah, fun.
Master Gardeners have a booth there.
Oh, yeah.
Mary Fabris will be there. And there's all sorts of booths and stuff. A very interesting thing to do. Good way to kick off spring.
Yeah.
Very reasonable to get in. A couple of bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, we mentioned earlier on the market right now, in the garden centers and in the box stores and whatnot, you'll see masses of displays of begonia tubers. Well, not as many begonia tubers as we used to see, but we see begonia tubers.
Still some out there.
We see gladiola corms. We see canna rhizomes. We see dahlia tuberous roots. We see, and lilies, okay? Now, I mentioned early, you will see your lily bulbs out right now, and it is important that you get them now and get them in the ground.
Plant them right away.
Don't wait until, later, because the darn things degrade quite quickly in the spring.
Yeah.
So get your lily bulbs early. The other ones can wait a little bit, but it's nice to get them while the selection is good. And get them going.
Yeah, they like the cold. They don't like to be warm, that's for sure. And when they come out of those from the wholesalers, they're in refrigeration. They go to the retailers. You got to buy them right away and get them back outside into the ground where they're refrigerated again. Keep the temperature consistently cool, and then you get a really good performance actually right on the first year. At least you get one good solid stem, and then the next year more as it goes along.
So that's one thing you can get out in the garden right away. We've got Pat joining us. Good morning, Pat. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning. How are you?
We are well.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. My question for you regards canna lilies. Last fall, I had these 5-foot canna lilies in a massive pot, and I brought the whole pot in, kept them inside all winter. They even bloomed all winter. But now they're tall, wimpy, stretching for the light, and terribly, terribly root-bound and wimpy looking. So now when I take them outside, I'm going to break it all up, give them all new soil. Do I keep the old ones or just the new ones? How do I handle this?
The new ones are better. They're nice and fat and healthy and colorful. You can just see they just look better. So the better bits are the ones you want to keep. But even the older bits will usually start to grow, and so they're pretty easy to deal with. The thing to note is that have you cut them off at all, or?
From time to time, but they're about 5 feet high.
Oh, geez. Yeah, so when you do that, you chop them off. I would be letting them dry out and just get them really dry so they start to hurt a little bit, and then cut them off. And then that's how you take them out at that point and divide them up into smaller pieces and repot them. And then, they really can't go outside until we're into middle of May. So, you can get them started and get them rooting in, and they'll start to grow again after a week or two.
If you put them in small pots, you can move them in and out, because there's some days coming up soon in April that in the Okanagan that are nice and warm. They're perfect for cannas, but they just can't freeze at night. So you got to watch the weather like a hawk and bring them in. If it's going to freeze, bring them in. I do that with my jacaranda. I do that with a lot of things. I get them outside, but I'm ready to pull the trigger if I have to get them inside at night if it's going to freeze. So just it's a bit of work, but it certainly pays off because they love being outside.
So when you say cut them off, do you mean right off soil level?
Yeah, and these are canna lilies you're talking about?
Canna with an N, yes.
Yeah. So, you just cut them down to, I usually cut them off at about 3 or 4 inches high, just as kind of a convenient height. And then, first process, dry them out. Second process, once they start looking rough, cut them off. So so in other words, you completely restrict water from them. And it's one of the things that keeps them growing through the winter months is when you keep on watering them and they're nice and warm inside, relatively bright light, they can keep on going. But I actually purposefully will dry mine right out in the fall, bone dry, cut them off, and then I just take the whole pot and everything and just stuff it into the garage in a semi-protected area where it doesn't freeze, and I just leave them till spring. In the spring, I pull them out, clean them up, divide them, put them back into pots, and away I go for another year.
Okay, when I'm looking at these roots, how do I know the good ones from the bad ones, the healthy ones from the
They're just
not healthy
beautiful
ones?
And plump and colorful. Usually they have sort of a pinkish color to them.
Firm.
And they're firm, yeah, really. And just look like they're ready to go. Like there are some better roots than others. If they're skinny and scrawny, and when I say skinny, I mean less than an inch in diameter, that would be pretty skinny. And they are, they're still going to grow. They're just not as happy. The bigger ones that are over 1.5 inches in diameter or so are going to be your premium roots.
Okay. Last year, I brought them in. They stayed inside all winter, and then I put them out as a full-size plant, and they just started flowering.
Yep. Well, that's the beauty of having them indoors is you get them started early, and as soon as you put them out, they just go. If
but
you
now
do like
they're really root bound.
Yeah, and that's
dump them out.
Yeah, that's okay.
Break them up.
They break up pretty easy, but because you're starting new like that, you don't want to keep the tops going on them when you're doing the divisions. When you start breaking them apart. So, yeah, I just cut them off. And like I was saying, when you get them started early, like mine are doing the same. They're shooting up a little bit in storage. So I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to chop them off and just keep them dry until I'm ready to go to the next level, which will be fairly soon. If you can get them started so they're actually physically growing at the beginning of April, like indoors, then they're going to be beautiful. And you put them out 24th May long weekend, go out and do your potting, make some beautiful planters with them or whatever you do, and they will just continue on and start blooming. If like a lot of people keep them in the storage all winter, and they wait right until like middle of April or so, maybe even beginning of May, and they'll bring them out and start waking them up, well, then you're really waiting till about July before they start to bloom. So you can see if you get them going early, sort of like what you're doing, you're going to get blooms before other people do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. You've been very helpful. Oh, in regard to fertilizer, what and when should I do that?
It's sort of a thing that has to do with heat and temperature, and so probably once you are seeing a lot of really nice, healthy growth coming on them after potting and everything. Then at that point, as soon as they start putting on some good-sized leaves, then you're good to start fertilizing again. And remember that the hotter the temperature they live in, the more food they need. So,
and if you're using new potting soil, quite often there's a nutrient charge in that potting soil.
That's usually enough.
And that's usually enough to get them going at the beginning. You can start feeding, as Ken said, when the weather warms up.
Yeah, read the fine print on the potting mix. Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Okay. Is there one you recommend?
I like just Sunshine number 1 or Sunshine number 4. Both of those are what I use in the greenhouse.
Okay. And where do I find that?
Most garden centers handle it.
Yeah.
Most garden centers would have it. It comes in a big bale, like a peat moss bale.
Yeah. So you can do like all your plants, all your planters in one shot.
So it's probably the most economical way, too, to buy a good potting soil is buy those bales.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
You betcha.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And, we've got Donna again phoning from West Kelowna.
Morning,
Hi
Donna.
there.
Hey, Donna.
No, it's a different Donna.
Yeah, different Donna.
I haven't called you yet this week, so just wondering when is a good time to transplant raspberries?
Oh, right
now.
Yeah.
Right now.
That's the time, yeah.
Look at that, the duet. We're actually in harmony, Ken and I there. Right now.
I did trim them back some last fall. Can I still trim them back more now or not?
Depends on what type do you have, do you know?
They're yellow ones, actually.
Oh, okay.
All I know is that they're yellow.
Yeah, so they're the golden
Do you see, well, the thing is, there's June bearings and there's what they call everbearing or fall bearing, late bearing raspberries.
The golden ones are more like that.
Yeah, the golden ones are more late, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I really haven't had much. They've been in the ground for 3-4 years, and I haven't really ever gotten a good crop out of them.
Oh, well, lots of water with raspberries and nice hot sunny location is helpful, and you can still add compost and nutrients and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So all those things seem to work, and the thing I've noticed about the golden ones is I've actually grown quite a few, and I have some at some of my clients' properties is that they get quite large quite fast, and holy man, do they grow, and they produce like crazy.
You know what? Maybe they're not getting enough sun, but I'm going to transfer them to my son's place. I said, hey, you got that open space in between you and the neighbors. Yeah. That's a good place to plant them.
And put in a little root barrier around them, right? So when you make a little bed or something, you dig in a root barrier about maybe 12 to 16 inches deep. 16 is better than 12. And you go all the way around the area and plant your raspberries in there, and then they don't run all over the yard.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because they obviously tend to do that, don't they?
Yeah.
So I bet you they might do, so give them some manure and stuff like that. They like that?
Yeah, and well-drained soil. They don't like clay.
Okay. No, I think he's okay there.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Donna.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy those calls. I love the passionate gardeners calling in.
It's awesome.
And we love to answer those questions. So let's take one more break here. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. You betcha. Listen to those numbers, because that's where you can get a hold of us. We're here every Saturday morning and have been since 1983. I was just a baby of 33 years old when we first went on the air back in 1983. And, hey, it's one of the things we've enjoyed doing all these years, and hopefully we can keep it up. Green bin pickup, Ken, is happening in Kelowna now. We've had our first bin of greens picked up, and there's quite a bit of stuff in the greenhouse. We had a full bin. We got the fat bin. You know, you can get the fat bin and you get the skinny bin. We got the fat one, and we filled it right up. And then we have some folks that we, and I don't know if this is legal or anything, but we have some folks that have 2 extra green bins that they rarely use because they don't have much in the way of garden. And so we borrow their green bins and then take them back, and they pick them up at their place. And I'm sure the gentleman picking them up in the truck kind of goes, where did they get all this green stuff? There's nothing in the yard. Anyway,
right.
Anyway, it's a great system. I really like our system of the green bin pickup. Before we had it, what did we do? We had to bundle everything up, put it into bags, take it out to the dump, and they put it in the green area. But it was a lot of work. This way, they pick them up.
It's fabulous, and for them to control it is easier, and they get the beautiful products, composted products that they're able to turn back into a product they can get back out into the community.
Yep.
So
and folks, just remember that there are some rules and regulations about what you can put in the green bin.
Yes.
Size of wood, for instance, size of prunings. There's a certain size that you got, and that's all listed on the City of Kelowna website, and same with the Victoria, I'm sure has the same
and
system.
it'll be different. Like I noticed in the advertising on TV, they talk about food scraps and that going into the bin, but that's in Burnaby, I think, and it may or may not apply to Kelowna. So definitely find out for your specific area what your guidelines are.
Yeah, I mean, salad things and that sort of thing, but. There are the systems down at the coast. Like my sister in Gibson's have that food waste system where all the kitchen waste and stuff, everything goes in there, and they compost it, or I'm not sure what they do with it, but they do something good with it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and we don't have that system in Kelowna. Not sure if they have it in Victoria, but it would be probably good to do that. So anyway, we're going to enjoy that all summer long. Teresa Hodge has just said that she's too large. They have 2 large and 1 small. So they got lots of green bins. I guess you can order and have more. You have to pay for them each month. And good. So anyway, she's out in the greenhouse right now. She just texted me. She's out in the greenhouse having her time out there. We sealed it up for her. I put some hinges on the door for Charlie and Teresa last fall, and I don't know what it was going on in my mind, but I put the hinges upside down, and the pins dropped out, and so the door subsequently dropped off. She pointed that out to me, so I quickly went over there and fixed that up for her. Anyway.
Those things happen, It's just you're having too much fun. That's the problem.
I know.
It's just too much fun.
Yeah, I mentioned the birds have been occupying the birdhouses.
Oh, yeah.
All winter long, and
winter.
now they're starting to
Wow.
get birdy. You know, they're starting to do their chirping.
Oh, yeah.
And the males are all getting frisky, and everything's going on. Love it. I just love having the birds around. But we're really being careful about feeding the birds now with a bird seed.
Yeah.
For instance, Brian Minter, when we were having our chat down there, Brian, because of the avian flu business, especially down the coast, he has stopped selling bird seed. He won't sell bird seed anymore,
Right.
or suet or any of that stuff, because of the avian flu thing. So that's
Yeah,
a
it just
responsible thing to do.
spreads.
That's a pretty large chunk of his revenue was bird feeders.
Well,
and bird
especially
seed.
in that area because they have such there's a lot of birds that winter in that area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so there you go. So that's Brian Minter's advice. Don't feed the birds. I do still have a bird bath, which they very much enjoy. But even that has been known to promote the spread of the flu. So what I do with the bird bath is daily we go out and we put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in it. And the H2O to
keep it washed out
and
regular.
we wash it out regular, put some fresh water in, a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in there, and the birds love it. And, in the wintertime, what I like doing is going out and putting hot water in the bird.
Oh, yeah.
So and it's steaming, and they come down, the birds are splashing away in this hot water. They're having a ball. Enjoying it very much.
Hot springs.
The Burnett hot spring there, yeah. Ken, over the years we've talked about this a lot, but I'm seeing it again visibly in the greenhouse. The difference between germination on a greenhouse bench with heat and without heat. The difference is like night and day. Like if you've got a flat of seedlings planted and half of them or a portion of them are on the heat and the other portion is not on the heat, the difference is like night and day. It really tells you. So, folks, if you're starting plants indoors, and a lot more people are doing that. I mean, I understand why plants cost money at garden centers and box stores. These plants, I mean, what used to be 79 cents is now $3.49. And you get yourself 2 or 3 flats of plants, and you're talking money. So a lot of folks are starting plants indoors. It adds another dimension to their plant enjoyment as well. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to be starting plants indoors, get that bottom heat. Buy one of those little Jiffy flat things. And you don't have to set a dial or anything. They're set at about 79 degrees Fahrenheit, and which is about really good for bottom heat, and works very well. And use clean potting soil. If you're going to use, I recycle my potting soil. But I don't use it for seedlings. I use it for planters. I'll put in planters. And then if it gets more tired, then what you do is you put it in the garden and add it to the garden. And but don't ever put it in the green bin, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and remember to keep keep your trays and things nice and clean. And if you are recycling them, you wash them and get them nice and clean, visually clean before you give them a little spritz of some rubbing alcohol. You can put that into a little spray bottle and just spritz it over the entire surface, and that really helps to kill the little bacteria and fungi that might be on there, so you're ready to go.
Now, you're talking about putting the rubbing alcohol on the plant trays before you...
Yes,
okay.
Exactly, yeah. Because that's, that's a way to sterilize them. The only thing is it's with, I don't know what percentage of alcohol that is. It has to be over 70%, I believe, to do something. But you can get 99% isopropyl alcohol in little bottles at the drugstore, and that works just fine.
And there was a time we used to take bleach, 10% bleach solution, and dip them in there.
Bleach is quite a toxic thing, like for people and for anything metal. Like we used to use it to sterilize blades and pruners and stuff, but bleach just would dissolve the blades away. It was too I don't know what it is. It's corrosive of some sort. So, but the isopropyl alcohol is not at all. It's great. So it works really good. Good enough for like hospitals. Good enough for my garden.
There you go. Well, there are all these things, but it is important. Cleanliness is so important, and I'm having that issue right now with my darned.
You got something getting in
black
there.
leg going on there, but
maybe you need a fan blasting straight onto them or something.
And it happened very quickly too, Ken. It wasn't like weeks after. I mean, those cuttings have only been for about a week and a half, and they're
do you have a
up.
humidity? You do have a humidity check, like
Yeah.
you got your little sensor.
Well,
there that
and the
checks
interesting
humidity.
thing, the more heat it gets in the greenhouse, the less
Lower
humidity.
the humidity it goes.
The
Yeah,
humidity goes down.
yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yep.
We're going to take a short break here at the bottom of the hour. We invite your calls. Give us a shout. It's spring, folks, and I'm sure there are questions out there that need to get answered. We are here to do that for you. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Okay, so we're going to talk about some bulbs, tubers, corms, and all that sort of thing that, some of you have saved them over the winter and what to do with them and whatnot. Begonias. I remember when I was young in the greenhouse, one of the early jobs that I had when I was in my early teens was to put a bed of peat moss. We used to line one of the benches with plastic with some little sides on it so that it was like one big little raised bed, really, of peat moss, maybe about 3 inches high. Mm-hmm. And we would make sure that peat moss was nice and moist, and then we'd set the begonia tubers in there. And as they started to shoot, each one, once it shot up about 2 inches, 2.5 inches, we would take it out of that bed and put it into a pot, right?
Right. So it was just waking them up.
We're just waking them up, and they wake up and at different times. They don't all wake up together. And so that's why we did that, so that if we were going to plant a planter with 3 begonia tubers in it, we would take 3 that were at the same stage, and we'd put them into that planter and grow them on. So getting the begonias started now is good, both in the Okanagan here and in Victoria, getting those tubers and getting them started. The garden centers and stores don't have the selection we used to carry in begonias. We used to have all the different kinds of the rose.
Well, we used to have a whole wall of just begonias.
Begonias, rose
and
forms.
Little tiny flowered ones and giant blooms and those long trailers. Yeah, they were great.
There was the fimbriatus, which looked like a carnation.
Yeah.
And then there was the rose form,
yeah,
which are the large rose form ones.
Camellia
flowered ones, yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
And then, of course, the California hanging basket ones and that sort of thing. So that selection is not the same as it was. When Donna and I were in Belgium a couple of years ago, I thought begonias were, when we brought them in, they were called Belgian begonias. But no, there's not a big begonia thing over there. I thought, whatever. So we couldn't find begonias there. But that's a good thing. The other thing that's on the market right now are the gladiolas.
Right.
And the gladiola corms, those are corms, are available. Right. And I'm going to be interested to see, after that real blast we had last winter of cold, to see if those glads came through again. Because the year before we had some cold weather, late in the fall or before Christmas, and those gladiolas came through the winter. I didn't cut them or anything.
I'm thinking about getting them started. Like, just take a tray and fill it with soil and just plunk in all my glad bulbs, because they start to shrivel inside, right, as they sit in storage.
Yes.
And get them in there and get them moistened up and see if we can wake them up a little bit. And just, the same idea like that you were talking about the begonias, is get them shooting up a little bit. And then once they're shooting up, then potentially be able to plant them outside. Hopefully by that time it's middle of May. So, but I don't think I can wait too much longer, because I was inspecting them and they are shrinking up a lot on the inside. Yeah. So I think they probably prefer to just be left in the ground.
Yeah, well, in Victoria, I'm sure they do. I'm sure that they just leave their gladiolas outside.
Yeah,
some sort of perennial bulb or perennial corm. So. And talking about these forest bulbs, we had a caller phone in, and we appreciate that very much, calling in about some potted bulbs that she'd bought or purchased. Actually, she potted them themselves and did well with them. This is very, very good. And now what to do with them? So we had suggested getting them right out in the garden. There's no question about that. You could put them outside in the pots. If they're still got some foliage on them, put them outside and let them do their thing and grow in the pots, and replenish those bulbs. Get the bulbs back fat again.
You want
it takes
nice,
a lot out of them.
Big, healthy green leaves on those things. So feeding them, like right after they bloom, you feed, and get them nice and healthy and growing for just about 4 weeks afterwards, and that's generally enough to start to feed them. And then at that point, you can start backing off a little bit and just let them kind of fade slowly.
And with tulips and daffodils and things like that, the time if you want to dig them, separate and whatnot, is July. You do that in July. And by that time, you don't know where they are. So if you have tulips, you put some stakes beside them so you know exactly where you are to dig them up.
And I leave the stem sticking up out of the ground. And then, but I think I would be, depending where you live, maybe June or July. Once you can still see where they are, you know where to dig up the patch. You can go and dig them up and divide them into little ones or move them around a little bit. They're always lovely.
We have Desmond joining us. Good morning, Desmond.
Yes. How are you?
Hey, this is our Desmond. This is Desmond, Donnie's son, Desmond. Yeah. Hey, you're calling from Desmond. Victoria, Des.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
having a nice breakfast and a fire.
Nice.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm glad that you got the bug. You got it from your dad.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, so what have you got going on there?
I just have a quick question about, in my backyard, I've got the lawn's pretty good. It's like half mossy because it's just wet back there. But I have this patch of grass, this weird grass that's thick. And it's got a stalk on it, and it's spreading. And I kind of hand pick it away. I don't know if there's a better way, but it's going to eventually take over the whole lawn.
Yeah, that's something I think unique to the island. I think more so. You may want to send me a picture to my cell. And
one of the other things, like there's hard fescue is one of the things that's similar to that here. And it could be hard fescue, but what you do is you take a little chunk of it, if you can dig out a couple plants, and take them down to a local garden center where maybe there'd be an expert there, or somebody who knows about the grasses, and maybe they'd be able to identify it, because identification is going to tell you exactly what you need to do to manage that plant. You have to know what it is for sure, and then you know how to deal with it.
And like I say, take a close-up picture of it and send it to my cell phone. I think you have my cell phone.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, send it to that, and we'll have a quick look at it and see if it's something we can ID ourselves. But quite often it's a local thing. In Victoria, there's things that happen there that don't happen here. And so, Yeah,
it's spreading quick. And when I get family over, we just get down on our hands and knees and dig it out. And
there you go.
Yeah,
but it's growing, it's spreading fast, and I like my backyard to hang out. So.
Yeah, and it makes it tough to walk on it with bare feet.
Yeah, exactly. It's uncomfortable. It's got a weird hard stalk on it, and especially when it dries out, it hurts your feet. So,
how's the weather there today?
The sun's coming out a bit. It's cold though, so like I said, I got a fire going and just about to get outside and do some stuff.
So it's cold, and it's all relative. But how cold is cold there?
Anything below 10 here feels like it's freezing.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, there you have it. There's a wind. There's a wind warning, Des. So just be careful. I noticed that in Victoria right now. There's a wind warning, right now it's going to get to be 9 above today. There, it's right now. It looks like it's about 8 degrees, and it's for us 8 degrees, 9 degrees is balmy. It's nice.
Oh no, it's horrible here.
Well, it's damp. This is damp. It's damper.
It's just the worst.
Des, keep it up and keep up the good work, and just give us a call and give us a weather report on the weekends. We appreciate it.
You betcha. The sun's coming out now, so I'm about to get out there. So.
Hey, buddy, and I understand you're making a bit of a move in your life right now, but you're not going back to the Okanagan. You love Victoria, right?
No, we're island bound for life here. That's too nice.
I was talking to your dad, and he said, he loves the island. So,
well, come visit anytime.
We will. Okay, bud.
Cool.
Okay.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, there's somebody that's now converted to island life.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, our trip a couple of years ago now to the island was just incredible. I mean, the flora and fauna there are incredible, both native and domestic. Gardens are just we just really appreciated that trip, and we're going to do it again pretty soon, maybe even this summer. We'll do another trip out there. 250-862-2525 to get through to us if you live in the Kelowna area. 1-888-780-4273 if you live in Victoria or anywhere online. Give us a shout. We're here to answer your gardening questions. The big thing, one of the things that we suffer from in the Okanagan area is verticillium wilt.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
Disease.
It's a fungal disease.
It's soil-borne typically, but it doesn't mean that if you buy in a plant, it can sometimes come with it, and then you plant it, and now it's in your soil. And once you've got it, you've pretty much got it. So that's the difficulty. Trying to figure out where it came from is kind of useless because it could have been there before, or it could have come in with the plant. But once you do have that disease, it's like cardiovascular disease in people, where they start getting clogged arteries, and that's what happens with them. And the symptom is when, the tree's growing along fine and it starts to get hot out, and then all of a sudden a big branch dies. Some of the trees normal, some of the trees dying. Next thing you know, another branch dies. The other branches are fine because it's just the arteries or the sieve tubes within those branches becoming plugged and causing them to die off. And the hotter it gets, the more it's, the more pronounced it is. Like if it's cold temperatures out and it leafs out, they can sometimes survive with the small amount of water that's getting through. But as soon as it gets hot, the leaves go crinkly and crispy, and that's it.
And one way to identify it is sort of post-mortem. You cut the branch off, and if there's that dark olive green circle around the cambium in that neck of the woods, that'll tell
you. It's quite. It's relatively easy to identify. Where it's difficult to identify is when it's in its early stages.
Right, and it's rough because you just get this tree. Like Donnie had a maple tree in his backyard that I had budded. I had budded onto a Norway maple, grafted bud grafting onto the Norway stem. I bud grafted at about 5 feet 3 buds of a globe maple. And that darn thing was fabulous. Every year we'd go there. Look at that tree. Look at it. It's gorgeous. Trunk got to be about 6 or 8 inches in diameter. It was beautiful. And then one year, one portion of it was dead in the middle of summer. And it was verticillium, and it just eventually took that thing out.
Yeah,
and that's the sad thing about verticillium. So
slow acting. Yeah, most of it is slow acting. There's a different couple different species of verticillium that are faster acting. So we just don't want to see those because they kill within about a month or two.
I guess what brought that up is I have a sheet that I got from the University of California on verticillium. So if you want to go there, it gives you a long list of susceptible trees and shrubs, and a long list of plants that are not susceptible to verticillium. So it's like deer resistant, non-deer resistant.
Yeah,
it's kind of, there's a gray area in that one.
In the Okanagan here too, the reason why we do have a lot of it here is it's prevalent is that the orchards from years and years and years of these different old orchards, and some of them had soft fruits like particularly prunus. Anything that's a prunus is susceptible to verticillium.
Right.
And so all those prunus varieties, so plums and different things, and even distantly, maybe peaches and apricots and that sort of thing, they can develop that in the orchards and have bits and bits of verticillium showing up. And then as the city grows, they rip out the trees and they scrape off all the soil and distribute it to all the soil guys. And then they build a building or they build a neighborhood, and then all that soil goes to all these different soil suppliers and gets blended in with their soils. It's full of verticillium, and so then it gets distributed, and then people have it everywhere. So that's why one thing I do is I just avoid species that are highly susceptible, and unfortunately redbud's super highly susceptible. Some of the lace leaf maples and things, like such a beautiful thing. I still try and plant some of those, but I'm really, leaning to that list of verticillium resistant, and that's just because it's the Okanagan.
Yeah. I'm sure they have an issue with it in Victoria as well.
It'd be interesting to see whether they have the same
We
problems.
have to take a short break here. It's the last break of the day. We've got another 15 minutes or so. Probably about 10 gross, 10.
A couple more questions maybe.
Net.
It'd have to be fast. Yeah.
Right. Please give us a call, 250-862-2525, locally here, 1-888-780-4273 from Victoria. And we will be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, we're back with you. Short time left on the Garden Show this morning, but we have Jim calling us from Victoria. Good morning, Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, gentlemen. I know it's a shortage of time here. I will just tell you, gout weed in Victoria in one bed, I'm having a heck of a time controlling it.
Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to control. You can dig it out, but it's like, wow. You gotta sift the soil. It doesn't go super deep, but it's just every little tiny piece of root will grow.
Right.
So
okay, yeah, we've tried that. I've tried putting poly over it. Somebody said just go around and just keep snipping the tops off of it. But
yeah, it's pretty hard to do that. It is such a durable plant. It can be controlled with herbicides, but you have to know your community and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. But, yeah, it's a tough one. But because I used to propagate that plant, and you wouldn't believe this if I told you, that is the most popular plant that I've ever sold, where I would have the most popular plants. I would grow maybe 200 flats of each variety. And with goutweed, I had to grow 5,000 flats, and then I would sell out so fast. And this was in a wholesale nursery. So, and that's mostly selling to the prairies because it's kind of hard to get stuff there to grow. But that being said, I would go into these plantings, big plantings, and just dig it all out. And I was looking for every little piece of root because each little piece could be a pot for me. So I would go through and just scour it. And you know what? I could get most of it. The difficulty was it would get underneath sidewalks and that sort of thing. And then when it's under a sidewalk, it's shooting its leaves out around the edges. It's just impossible to get that. So then you'd have to revert to a herbicide.
Yeah, you might, if there is that availability in your area, you might have to hire a professional to come in and get that thing down to a point where you can manage it. Like you can, because once that's there's no magic wand that's going to come in here and clean it up and you won't see it ever again. You'll get it down to a point where you can maybe physically start to manage it, and you might want to check into that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I had some success with the poly. I just ended up ripping it up because it was just looking unsightly. So I'm thinking about just attacking it with the poly again.
Sure.
It's around like four hydrangeas. So I'm,
right,
a little bit reluctant to do any kind of, herbicide stuff.
Right. Now, are you talking, Jim, are you talking about black poly or clear poly?
Well, I have both. I used black poly last time.
Right. Well, black poly, of course, causes them to come up to the surface so you can scrape them away. That helps to get them so the roots aren't so deep, because when you put black poly on, the roots come up to the top, and then you can scrape them away, put the black poly back on again, the roots keep coming up, and then you can work on it that way. But the clear poly, if you can get a real hot day, we get that in the summer here easily in the Okanagan, putting a clear poly on can burn them.
Oh.
Like a greenhouse effect.
But it would have to go for a long time to cook the roots.
Yeah.
You got to cook down 5
and
inches.
And you need hot summer day under that poly.
Yeah.
Jim, we're going to have to move on. Unfortunately, we've got another caller coming in. We want to grab that one before we go. But we appreciate your call, and happy gardening for spring.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, buddy. Take care. We've got Brenda joining us for the last caller of the day. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I wonder if you would like to speak a little bit about my elderberry bush and how to prune it. It's kind of gotten gangly, and sometimes when I've cut the stems before they've just died, they kind of look hollow and they just die, and sometimes they've resprouted, so I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Okay, well,
we were just having a little chat about verticillium, this fungus that affects them. Are you in the Okanagan, or are you
Yes.
Okay, so they can develop verticillium, this fungus, and it causes the branches to die off. If you ever get dieback like during the summer, that might be a symptom that it might have that. What I do with mine is it grows, mine's about 20 feet high, And I grow it for 5 years, and then after 5 years, I just chop the whole thing off, like right now, and I'm going to do this probably next weekend, chop it right off at about 2 to 3 feet off the ground. And then I just let the whole thing push up again, and it completely rejuvenates. It comes right back. First year, it might get to about 6 or 8 feet. Second year, it'd be up to 10 or so feet. And then, because I grow it as a small tree, right?
Yes, me too. Well, thank you. I will do that, and life will be good. Thank you very much.
It should be fine, yeah. Check back later, just give us updates as you go along. It's always it's always fascinating.
I'll for sure give you an update.
You betcha.
Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And, Ken wasn't joking there when he said give us an update. We learn constantly.
Oh, yeah.
We learn from
science,
these,
It's all science.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you can learn. It's a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we've been at it a long time. Between the two of us, we've got years and years of experience. However, you learn something new every day from folks that have just had some experience doing something. Like, for instance, I'm working with Mary Fabris out in Mission. Mm-hmm. She's got a fantastic, because she's monitoring these deer in her yard, the deer, what they eat and what they don't eat. Mm-hmm. She's got a pretty darn good list of stuff that they like and stuff that they don't like.
They kind of live in her yard. I think that's one of their favorite stops.
I think so, too. Well, she's such a nice gal. So we're getting close to the end of the show. We want to remind you, tomorrow is CD Sunday in Kelowna at the Parkinson Rec Center. The CD Sunday starts. The doors open, I believe, at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It goes from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So there's 5 hours of great show there. There's all sorts of things going on, and one thing in particular, you'll get to see Ken Salvail doing his thing, a talk. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what time that is.
I think it's at 1. Not
1 o'clock.
Sure.
You better get that.
I better get that figured out. But I'm going to be there just at at my own sort of booth where I'll be answering plant questions. That sort of thing.
All day. Well, good for you, Ken. You got all
fun.
Yeah, I tell you, you're so young. You can just go at it.
So
energetic. That's right. And I'll be there too. I always want to come and have a visit and look around. I'll be walking through the show. Donna and I decided to attend. We try and get there every year. Great event, and we, encourage people to go there. It'll give you all sorts of information, and don't forget too, coming up in Kelowna, the Flower Power Garden Tour is again on this year in June. So get that.
Yeah, and the Lake Country Garden Tour, I believe, is on as well. I have to check in with Laverne and see what's going on with that. And
you betcha.
Should be good.
We are now going to give you the tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
And then we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're out of here.
Back to work.
Like we're going to make like a tree and leaf out.
Mm-hmm.
Tip of the week: check out all the bulbs, tubers, rhizomes, and tuberous roots out there. A plethora of choices in the garden center right now. Garden centers, and ideal time to do that. It's it's something you can get going now, and a lot of those things can be kept over the winter next year, too. My plant of the week is winter aconite. The winter aconite is the first thing blooming in my garden every year, and it's a pleasure.
All right, I have a couple tips. One I didn't mention is time to spray Bobex, or the deer repellent, onto your tulips as they're shooting out of the ground, so it keeps the deer away and lets them bloom. Remember that flavor, when it comes to vegetables, equals nutrients. So the more flavor, the more nutrients. That's why we grow our own veggies. And remember that this is also the time to plant cilantro. You can get them started indoors, move them outdoors. They're fine with the cold temperatures, and plant new seeds beside them so you get multiple rows. If you have a cold frame, you're in the biz. That's even better. So there you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com, Grower Coach on YouTube.
You bet. Best place on the computer or your phone you can go to is Ken's work there. My Shigo quote of the week is, I have examined many, many branches that fractured after the second or third loading. This is on trees.
Mm-hmm.
The first sets the cracks. The second and third loading cause final failure. Now, whatever that means, I don't know, but that was Shigo. You got to believe him. We're going to see you next week with more of The Garden Show. We appreciate you listening.